You are deep within the Amazon rainforest. The ground beneath your feet suddenly collapses. You think you have fallen into a natural cave, but when you shine your flashlight forward, you realize instantly this place did not form naturally. Stretching out ahead lies a massive subterranean tunnel. It stands roughly 2 meters high, nearly 4 meters wide, vanishing endlessly into the darkness. The rock walls are scored with deep repeated claw marks. Each scratch is longer than your palm. There are no tool marks left by miners. No trace of any human civilization. Even more incredible, this underground tunnel predates humanity's arrival in South America. To this day, scientists have uncovered tens of thousands of similar underground passages across Brazil. Some stretch more than 1,500 meters. They connect to one another, forming vast underground networks. These are the largest known animal-built underground structures on Earth, and their architects are not ants nor moles. They are colossal beasts the size of hippos, even elephants. Ground sloths. Rewind 10,000 years, and the South America you would see is an entirely different world. No highways, no cities, not even humans. Forest blankets the land. Immense wetlands stretch to the horizon, and the air thickens with the scent of vegetation. Amid the trees, a towering figure moves slowly, standing nearly 3 meters tall, and weighing multiple tons. It's powerful for limbs, and an enormous curved claw. The ground trembles faintly with every step. This was one of the most successful herbivores across the South American continent back then. The ground sloth today. When people picture sloths, they imagine small creatures hanging from tree branches, absurdly slow-moving. Yet those are only their last surviving distant descendants. Once dozens of distinct ground sloth species existed. Some lived in forests, some roamed grasslands, and a few grew larger than modern African elephants. For tens of millions of years, they ruled South America, and their secret to success can be summed up in one word: slow in nature. Speed usually means survival. Antelopes rely on speed to outrun lions. Cheetahs depend on speed to catch prey. But sloths took a completely different path. They almost abandoned speed entirely. Modern tree sloths possess one of the lowest metabolic rates among all mammals. They require far less food than other animals of equal size. To conserve energy, they do not maintain a constant body temperature like typical mammals. When morning sunlight filters through the woodland canopy, sloths creep slowly to the treetops and expose their bodies fully to the sun. They are not simply enjoying the warmth. They are heating themselves up. They generate so little internal heat that they must draw warmth from sunlight to regain vitality. As night falls, their body temperature drops alongside the environment. This way of living resembles a lizard far more than a mammal, yet it allows them to expend minimal energy. Where other creatures need 3 portions of food to survive, sloths may thrive on just 1. In forests where food can be scarce, this is their greatest advantage. For a long time, scientists wondered, could multi-ton ground sloths have been vastly different from today's tree sloths after all? Their size was staggering then. A 2025 study finally delivered an answer. Researchers analyzed fossil teeth from multiple extinct ground sloth species. Teeth act as natural recorders. As an animal grows its teeth, biological information from its body becomes permanently locked within the enamel. Tens of thousands of years later, these fossils still allow scientists to reconstruct their body temperatures. The results were surprising. These giants maintained body temperatures very similar to modern sloths. Even with bodies weighing several tons, they retained an extremely low metabolism. It was not merely that they moved sluggishly. Their entire biology ran on maximum energy saving mode. For other animals this would be a weakness. For ground sloths, it was an almost unbeatable survival strategy. Their food demands were modest leaf shrubs, young shoots, even tough, coarse vegetation all became viable meals. They evolved complex stomachs capable of slowly fermenting low-nutrient plant matter, foods other animals cannot digest. They can process, while competitors constantly forage to eat. Enough sloths live at a leisurely pace. Over tens of millions of years, ground sloths steadily expanded their territory. They ventured into forests, grasslands and wetlands. Every new habitat spawned new sloth species. Gradually, they spread across the whole of South America. Some measured merely 1 meter long. Others evolved into true giants. Evolution seemed to favor these slow-moving creatures. Research shows ground sloths rank among the mammals, with the fastest recorded increase in body size. Within just a few million years, new species weighing multiple tons emerged. For most animals, growing larger means needing more food. Not so for ground sloths. Their metabolism remained persistently low, so greater body mass did not bring proportionally higher energy costs. Larger bodies brought new advantages. They could reach higher foliage, fend off more predators, and store extra energy to endure food shortages. Slowness enabled them to conquer an entire continent. Yet what truly astounds us is that they were not content to remain on land. Millions of years ago, some sloths headed toward the ocean. They inhabited what is now coastal Peru, where shallow seas once teemed with seagrass and aquatic vegetation. These sloths ventured into the water to feed more and more often. Generation after generation, their bodies transformed. Nostrils shifted toward the top of their snouts. Bones grew denser, much like modern manatees, whose heavy skeletons help them stabilize underwater. In the end, they became the only known sloths in Earth's history to readapt fully to marine life. Unknown to these marine sloths, another group of their kin traveled in the exact opposite direction. They did not enter the ocean. They headed underground. When humans first discovered these caverns, they could barely believe their eyes. Tunnel after tunnel stretches into shadow. Some reach 2 meters high and nearly 4 meters wide, spacious enough for an adult human to stand and walk freely. No traces of water erosion or volcanic lava texture mark the rock. Instead, dense, massive claw scores are etched across the stone. Each gouge cuts deep into bedrock, as if 4 sharp iron picks hacked repeatedly at the earth. At first, some guessed these ruins belonged to a long-lost ancient civilization. But once paleontologists carefully measured the marks, their spacing, depth and curve, they matched perfectly with the 4 claws of one animal. The truth emerged. These tunnels belonged to ground sloths. Today, thousands of such subterranean passages have been uncovered solely in southern Brazil. Many interconnect to form sprawling underground labyrinths. They represent the largest known non-human underground construction project on the planet. No living modern mammal could undertake such immense excavation work. But a critical question arises: why? Why would multi-ton giants devote countless years burrowing deep beneath the surface? Scientists have yet to reach a single unified conclusion. Yet one fact is nearly certain: these caverns were essential to their survival. Underground temperatures remain constant, shielding them from extreme heat and bitter cold. For animals with low metabolism whose body temperature is easily affected by the environment, such shelters were invaluable. More importantly, the underground offered safety. Pleistocene South America was a dangerous place. Jaguars lurked along forest edges. Enormous saber-toothed cats roamed the plains. Short-faced bears and other predators constantly hunted. Adult ground sloths possessed formidable size and razor-sharp claws, but juveniles lacked such defenses. Deep underground nests protected the next generation during their most vulnerable years. Such massive construction could never be completed by a single animal in a short lifespan. Scientists believe these underground mazes were expanded generation after generation. New sloths inherited tunnels carved by their ancestors, digging onward, extending the network for decades, centuries, even millennia. Eventually, genuine underground kingdoms came into being. By this era, ground sloths were among the most successful. large herbivores across the Americas. As the landmass of Central America gradually formed, as some sloths began migrating northwards, they crossed the newly formed land bridge into North America, continuing to thrive from tropical forests to cold open plains, from Mexico all the way to what is now the northern United States. Sloths nearly conquered the entire New World. No one could foresee that this age spanning tens of millions of years would soon draw to an end. Around 15,000 years ago, new hunters arrived. They were not saber-toothed cats or giant bears, but a species never before seen on these continents. Humans. Unlike all other predators, humans relied neither on fangs nor raw speed. They possessed weapons, language, cooperation, and patience. Faced with a multi-ton ground sloth, they avoided direct combat. They encircled it, drove it onward, hurled spears relentlessly to drain its strength, and waited until exhaustion set in. Archaeologists have uncovered clear human-cut marks on countless ground sloth fossils. One site in New Mexico preserves a haunting scene imprinted in mud tracks of humans, alongside those of a giant ground sloth. The 3-meter beast circles repeatedly, twisting left and right, trying to face every hunter closing in. Scientists suspect it swings its giant claws to repel the surrounding humans. Yet the hunters keep their distance, shifting positions and waiting until the giant collapses from fatigue. On that day, there was no escape. Stories like this unfolded again and again. Even more striking, the timing of ground sloth extinction lines up almost perfectly with human migration routes. Humans first entered North America, then moved steadily south. Ground sloths vanished first in the north. Centuries later, populations collapsed across South America. Sloths living on Caribbean islands survived several thousand years longer, as humans arrived there far later. This is unlikely to be mere coincidence. Ground sloths survived ice ages, drastic climate shifts, and countless environmental upheavals. They endured tens of millions of years of evolution, yet they could not withstand the arrival of humans over just a few thousand years. In hindsight, their story is full of irony. Their greatest strength was slowness. A low metabolic rate let them consume less energy. A leisurely lifestyle allowed them to persist in barren habitats. Slow evolution produced land giants, marine sloths, and the largest animal-built underground structures on Earth. Their slowness allowed them to dominate South America for millions of years. Yet that very slowness ultimately left them vulnerable against a new kind of predator, against thinking, cooperating, tool-making humans. Speed suddenly became vital. Their greatest advantage turned into their fatal weakness. Today, when we venture once more into those ancient dormant tunnels, we still see deep claw marks overhead. They were carved by a giant tens of thousands of years ago. The sloth that made them could never know its tunnels would endure to the present day. Nor could it imagine that a species called humans would one day follow these passageways, searching for proof of its existence. Once this continent belonged to them. They traversed forests with slow footsteps, carved bedrock with enormous claws, and built unseen cities deep underground. Now the forests above still grow, rivers still flow toward the ocean. Only those buried tunnels lie quiet, waiting for visitors. They remind us before humanity rose, the world belonged to another great form of life. They built no palaces, left no written records. Yet with a pair of massive claws, they etched echoes that resonate deep within the earth for tens of thousands of years. This is before us.